Could an ancient map, created more than 500 years ago, contain secrets that humanity wouldn't uncover until the 20th century? And what if this map hides a secret that could change our understanding of human history? How is it possible for Antarctica to be mapped without ice, when science claims that the continent has been covered in ice for millions of years? This is not just a legend or fantasy. This is the story of the mysterious Piri Reis map. Imagine holding an ancient artifact, a map that shows a world that should have been unknown to people at the time. Every line, every curve on the Piri Reis map contains details that spark interest and questions among historians. The year is 1512. The Ottoman Empire is at the height of its power. Only half a century after the fall of Constantinople, the legendary city that withstood sieges for nearly 1,000 years. Now the Ottomans dominate the Mediterranean. Under the rule of the new Sultan, Selim Yavuz, the empire expands its borders into Anatolia, North Africa, and the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. In these glorious times, when the Ottoman fleet is invincible, one man rises above the rest, Piri Reis. His maps will not only go down in history, but will also give rise to mysteries that will confuse future generations. But what makes this map so unique that even modern scientists cannot fully explain? In 1470 in Gallipoli, present-day Turkey, his real name was Ahmed Muhiddin Piri, and Reis was a title meaning captain or commander of a fleet. He grew up in a family with a maritime tradition, and his uncle, the famous pirate and sea captain Kemal Reis, had a significant influence on him and his career. Piri Reis was not just a navigator, but also a scholar and researcher who left a lasting mark on the history of cartography. His work developed during one of the most dynamic and ambitious periods for the Ottoman Empire, a time of significant territorial and cultural expansion, an exceptionally favorable environment for researchers like him. The Ottoman Empire solidified itself as a powerful force in the Eastern Mediterranean and beyond. This was one of the most pivotal moments in world history. Under the rule of Sultan Bayezid II and Selim I, the empire not only controlled strategic trade routes between Europe, Asia, and Africa, but also actively embraced knowledge from various civilizations: Arab, Persian, Indian, and European. Sultan Selim I played a key role in expanding the empire and strengthening the Ottoman naval power. These events coincided with the peak of the empire's naval forces, allowing Piri Reis to gather and expand his knowledge, participating in expeditions and mapping. The period was filled with discoveries, both for the Ottoman world and the outside world. The Renaissance in Europe was at its height. Christopher Columbus discovered America. Vasco da Gama was the first European to reach India by sea, and Ferdinand Magellan circumnavigated the globe, proving that the Earth is round. Piri Reis also traveled, traded, and explored new territories. He also actively exchanged knowledge with European scholars and Arab cartographers, with each interaction influencing his works. He is also famous for his work Kitab al-Bahriyeh, the Book of Seas. It is a kind of maritime handbook that contains detailed descriptions of coastlines, ports, and sea routes. And this is where the mystery begins, because the map of Piri Reis hides secrets that even today make us wonder if it's possible. It was made on animal skin parchment in 1513. A manual drawing technique was used, decorated with bright colors using ink and various types of natural dyes. The map is relatively large, measuring around 90 by 60 centimeters, making it a significant geographical artifact for its time. Only a third of the original map of Piri Reis has survived to this day, specifically the part that shows the coastlines of South America, the Caribbean islands, the eastern part of North America, Western Africa, and the controversial section with mysterious Antarctica. The map contains inscriptions written in Ottoman Turkish, Arabic, and Persian, reflecting the influence of various cultures on Ottoman cartography and showing that Piri Reis used data from various sources, including Christopher Columbus and other explorers. However, when compared to all other maps of its era, it is much more accurate for certain geographical features, such as the coastlines of South America, the islands around Brazil, the Caribbean, as well as geographical coordinates and the distances between them. It depicts islands that were known during Piri Reis's time, and their locations match modern maps. There are, however, some inaccuracies, such as in the North Atlantic, but overall, it is remarkably precise. It was discovered in the Sultan's Palace in Istanbul in 1929 by Turkish historian Halil Edhem. But why, after being such an important geographical artifact, did the map remain unknown and forgotten for nearly 400 years? And what happened to the rest of it? And now comes the most mysterious part. Why does this map seem so advanced for its time? If the outline really reflects Antarctica without ice, how could it have known this when the continent was covered in ice? And there is no known record of it being discovered by expeditions up until then. This part of the map is fundamentally different from anything that was known at the time. But the most astonishing thing is that it shows matches in the outlines that align with what we know today about Antarctica, but without ice. This part is extremely controversial, as modern science claims that the continent has been covered with ice for over 30 million years. Now, let's look at the theories. What do you think? What are the possibilities? One theory is through methods and technologies that are possible today, which we know and use. Namely, these three technologies: LiDAR, light detection and ranging. It sends laser pulses from the air, measuring distances to objects. The beams pass through ice and reflect off the Earth's surface, creating a 3D map. Satellite imagery and radar. Satellites use radar signals that reflect off ice and land to create maps and measure the thickness of ice. Ground penetrating radar, GPR. Radio waves are emitted from a device on the ground. They penetrate the ice and reflect off underground structures, revealing shape and thickness. But look, GPR was invented only in the 1950s, and even if we assume it existed in the 16th century, it would practically be inapplicable in the context of the scale of Antarctica according to the Piri Reis map. So based on the technology we have today, this is only possible from the sky. There is no evidence of flying objects before the time of the Wright brothers. This theory is uncomfortable. So let's look at the next one. As mentioned, Piri based his map partly or perhaps entirely on other maps. It is known that the Egyptians were capable of creating highly precise maps, but mainly for land areas. The Phoenicians were unrivaled sailors, according to ancient texts and writings by famous historians like Herodotus and Pseudo-Skylax. They explored distant lands and created detailed maps of their trade routes. We have all heard of the infamous Library of Alexandria, but do we actually know how huge it was? Scholars believe it was likely around 20,000 square meters, with between 400,000 to 700,000 manuscripts. It was a massive building with immense knowledge. Could it have contained maps of ancient civilizations, such as those of Atlantis? Is it possible that this lost knowledge passed through the centuries to reach Piri Reis? One of the more rational theories is that Antarctica as depicted on the Peary Reis map, actually represents an extension of South America and the surrounding islands. At first glance, this hypothesis seems logical, but it also faces some inconsistencies. The first and most obvious issue is that the contours of the depicted territory can be interpreted as both an extension of South America and the outlines of Antarctica without ice. Despite the similarities to Antarctica, which modern technologies allow us to observe, there is no definitive evidence to unambiguously support this assumption. Second, by 1513, although Brazil had already been discovered, detailed maps of the southern coastline of the continent were almost unknown. There is no evidence that the Ottomans or European explorers had precise geographical data for these territories, let alone potential islands in the South Atlantic. Instead, the contours show a certain resemblance to the real Antarctica, though far from perfect accuracy. Modern technologies reveal more precise outlines beneath the ice, which in some aspects resemble those from the Peary Reis map. However, this could be a coincidence or a result of simplification in the depiction. These inconsistencies make the conservative theory difficult to fully accept, leaving room for questions and speculations about the sources and technologies used in creating the map. Could this map be just a result of coincidence and bold interpretations, or does it hide traces of a lost civilization? I leave it to you to decide.